Can't make it up.
Kansas City Chiefs are 12-1.
Never a doubt.
They have beat the Los Angeles Chargers in an extremely Chiefs score, 19-17.
Perfection.
A doink off the left goalpost into the back of the goal to give the Chiefs another AFC West title.
Lock it up.
Continued lead on the AFC 1 seed, which is now expanded because the Buffalo Bills have lost to the Los Angeles Rams.
Imagine.
This team, man, keep finding ways to win, and they've got away with it yet again, and the haters are absolutely furious. Kent Swanson here with Matthew Lane. Matthew. And by the way, I'm sorry in advance. I'm sick. Apologies. I'm trying not to cough too much, but how are we feeling, Matthew? How you doing?
We feel great. The Chiefs have won yet another game, 19-17 on the final play of the game. The streak continues. The one-score games continue. Who doesn't love this? Who doesn't like watching 3.5 hours of awful football just for the Chiefs to win on the final play of the game, week after week, game after game?
I mean, they just continue to find different ways to win football games. Sometimes it feels like just different ways to not lose them. But they've done it yet again. They hit a 31-yard field goal off the left upright, their third string kicker, Matthew Wright. I tweeted this out before the possession. I was like, I don't love the idea of I just didn't love the idea of having your third string kicker, the game rest on the leg of the third string kicker, and they still put it
Andy
in.
Andy loved that idea. That was Andy's favorite thing he's ever heard. The only thing he's upset by is it wasn't a 50-plus yarder from his third string kicker. That's the only thing that would have made him happier, was settling for a 56-yard game-winning field goal from his third stringer.
Yeah, well, he got a 31-yarder off the with the doink, and unbelievable.
I know you don't feel good. I love how the Chiefs just won a game off of a doink field goal, and it's just kind of like, ho-hum, Chiefs win again. There's not like excitement, like not just you. This is me too. There's not like this excitement. There's not everybody freaking out about how the Chiefs just won a game off of a doink field goal, but yet here we are just like, yeah, it's just another week. Oh, there's
I'm coming in. I'm coming in. I got to bring the energy, fellas. Look, 9 straight division titles, fellas. Why are we celebrating? A doink for the win? Are you kidding me? I tweeted out today. I don't know if you guys saw this. I tweeted out today, how are the Chiefs going to win this one possession game? And a doink was mentioned. I want to go back into my mentions and find that one out. But I do think that this show needed a shot of energy, and that's what I'm here for. I'm the energy shot. Look, it wasn't pretty. Boys got it done. The boys were playing some ball, to steal a little bit of a line from the guys across the street. When they needed to, Maddie. They were playing ball when they needed to, and that's really when it matters. Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, when it matters, they showed up. Let's get a little excited, fellas. 9 straight division titles.
Absolutely bring in the juice is Tucker D. Franklin.
Come on.
Look, I am excited. I'm glad. I'm relieved. Like, the Chiefs are 5-0 against the division. They still own the division. They have taking care of business here, and the Broncos and the Chargers right now are currently in the playoff picture, and the Kansas City Chiefs have escaped to 3 games against those teams now, 1 off a blocked field goal, 1 off a doink, 1 a 10-point comeback, and this team is just taking care of 2 different playoff teams that, like, if one of them upsets somebody, the Chiefs very likely will be playing in the divisional round. This could have been a divisional round game very easily. But it is a hat and t-shirt game for the Kansas City Chiefs. And you're right, they should be celebrating
Mhm.
it. And we would like to celebrate some of y'all for donating to the Soul of KC Raffle. And before we get too far into this, I do want to bring this up because the deadline to donate to the Soul of KC Raffle is tomorrow, I believe, right, Tuck?
Tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow. Got that graphic up there for you now.
Well, we are trying to help all the kids at Operation Breakthrough have a great Christmas. We will be buying a variety of things for them that they need out of Dick's Sporting Goods later this week. And you can still get involved. And by getting involved, you also are entering a raffle to win potentially some incredible prizes, some signed merchandise, some gift cards to a variety of restaurants in Kansas City. Patrick Mahomes, Chris Jones, Justin Reed, Shamari Connor, to name a few of them. Nick Bolton, like plenty, Leo Chenal. All kinds of guys from this team signing memorabilia. Anyways, one ticket with a $20 donation, 5 tickets for a $50 donation, and 15 tickets for a $100 donation. GiveButter.com/KCSN Soul or Venmoing KCSportsNetwork.com. Help us do some good out here. We're really excited to help doing this, and we've raised over $12,000, I believe, at this point. I don't know what the updated number that was as of a few days ago, but you still got some time to donate and help us help some kids here in the city. Thank you all, and I appreciate that. Maddie, let's try to match the energy of a Tucker D. Franklin, if we can.
I'm staying in, by the way. I gotta be police. I gotta police control. I gotta police control this for the vibes, but I'm staying in.
I got people sleeping in my household. It's hard to match the vibes that Tucker has coming in right now. But no, I don't have bad vibes. I just think it's funny just how ho-hum we are about them doinking in a field goal winner. Whereas like 4 weeks ago, that would be something we'd be freaking out about. Even though the Chiefs still, were in a similar situation, we'd be like, oh yeah, they doinked home a field goal. This is so funny. This is awesome. They won the game. Kind of like we were when they blocked the Broncos field goal to win the game. Like, right, there was a lot of energy for that. This one, we kind of got numb to the fact that the Chiefs are going to win some really ugly game in some hilarious way at the end of it. Like, it's hard to come with the same level of energy. It's to the point I saw the kick. I'm sitting here watching it. It comes off his foot. It starts curving. I go, oh, that's 100% going to hit the upright and bounce in. That was my thought the entire kick. And I heard the doink and I was watching. I was like, oh, is it going to make the crossbar or not? And it did. I was like, yeah, that is exactly what it looked like from the get-go. I never thought he was missing. I thought he was doinking it and it was going in. And so it's just funny how this team has gone.
Oh, it is funny. And it's like, that's just the nature of this season. And I don't know what to do with it, right? Because they keep winning. Other teams are losing football games. The Bills lost today to the Los Angeles Rams, and the Steelers have 3 losses on their ledger this year, and like they've got some tough games coming up too that they're going to have to deal with. It's just like this team keeps finding ways to win football games and putting themselves in. Ultimately, the only thing that matters is getting through the regular season and getting the 1 seed. That's the most important thing that you can possibly do in the regular season, and they're still somehow in a phenomenal position to do that. You know what? I think there's a lot of micro stories here within this game. Obviously, I think the return, DJ Humphries, we're going to find out what happened here with DJ Humphries hurting himself late in this game. I said the one thing that he needed to do was just get out of this game, healthy so that he can continue to progress and move on and get better. I still think he probably is ultimately the best option for this team down the stretch. It definitely looked, I think, early on, Maddie, like a guy that's kind of trying to figure some things out, trying to get back into the swing of things. Like I thought he, it took some acclimation in this game. They kind of threw him to the fire, and I thought there's some good, some bad in this game for DJ Humphries.
Yeah, he looked like a guy that was playing his first game of the year, and the Chargers came out taking advantage of that, right? Like this wasn't like this wasn't week 3 or 4 where you're getting to ease into it a little bit because nobody's like desperately trying to win the game. This is a divisional matchup for a team that technically is playing for their chance to still win the division. They come out, they're throwing games. They are alternating who's pass rushing off that side. They're hitting them with twists, stunts. They're showing pressure. Like they're doing a lot to make DJ Humphries on his first, in his first couple reps with this team try to work. And yeah, to start the game, not only were there some like mental losses where, the stunt got him, the game got him. I thought there was a couple protections. He clearly was still trying to sort out mentally as it went on, but physically he was still catching up. And you saw that some. I do think as the game went on, he specifically got a little bit better. Like as the game was wearing on, yeah, Mahomes was getting hit nonstop over and over again, but it wasn't just the left tackle in this game, which that's not better, right? I guess I'm saying that like it's a good thing. That's not better that it wasn't just one player that was getting beat over and over again. But like I thought he got better as the game went on. So hopefully he was just cramping in his first game back. Hopefully it was playing a lot of snaps, didn't have enough, liquid intake, wasn't ready for it, cramped, and he's ready to go. If not, hey, you're right back where you were last week, which is, still a spot where they were a one-loss team that we thought was going to the Super Bowl.
Look, I agree. I thought he looked better throughout the game. There was like some of the stuff with like some of the games up front were definitely getting to him, and like there's gonna be some chemistry there that that takes some time to develop. I thought that he maybe just isn't quite used to building a pocket for Patrick Mahomes. From certain depths and some of that kind of stuff. He's given up a corner a little bit too quickly on some of those, thinking that he could wash him up the arc. But, with Mahomes, sometimes getting a little bit of depth, I thought there was some inconsistencies there. But I definitely do think he got better as the game going on. And, like, I think Mahomes got hit less as the game went on, too. Like, he didn't get hit quite as much in the second half, I don't believe, as he did in the first. First half was brutal. It was brutal to watch. It was tough to watch, and it was an absolute slog, and it was frustrating. But they they put a nice drive together at the end of that first half. That 2-minute drive winds up being, I believe, the only touchdown that the Kansas City Chiefs score in this game, Tucker.
Yeah, it does. Sorry, my computer's exporting highlights right now, so if I'm a little bit behind, that's what's going on. So I can get some highlights up to you guys. But it was one of those things where they were trying to figure some things out with DJ Humphrey still, and I think what they did in the second half, they did a lot. Collinsworth mentioned this too, is like they're spreading guys out there, getting the ball out quicker, and I think that did help. That did help with the pressures and everything. And one thing that kind of was confusing to me is one thing that usually helps with like pass rushes and like when guys are getting after the quarterback is if you run the ball, so the defensive ends and the edge rushers and the pass rushers can't pin their ears back. And they had some success on the ground with the run. Look, this isn't the first time we've had a Chiefs game where Andy Reid kind of negated the run in the middle of the game, and we all kind of left wondering what was going on. Like, this is not the first time that happened, but it was one of the things where I think if they would have ran the ball a little bit more, they would have had a little bit more success coming down, down the stretch here, and it wouldn't have been as close of a game.
The Chiefs' run game's so funky because a lot of times it doesn't work. And then when they do, and they go away from it, right? And it makes a lot of fans upset, especially because earlier in the year, it felt like they were more willing to stick with it, even when it wasn't working and it was getting the 3 yards at a time or whatever it was. But now, as the years gone on, they've kind of drifted away from it. And it's hard to say that's been a bad thing as the offense has steadily gotten better throughout the year. Like the more they've pulled away from the run game, the offense has performed better. But in this game, they were struggling. They were really struggling to move the ball consistently. Like Ken said, they didn't really have or maintain drives. They weren't being able to finish them in the red zone. And it wasn't until they started to run the ball again later in the second half where they started to move the ball again a little bit on the Chargers. So yeah, it's weird to find a balance for this team. It feels like they still don't know what they want to be. They were getting better by moving the ball through the air. So they were trying to stick with that these last couple weeks. It wasn't, giving them perfect play, or even, it wasn't easy. It wasn't looking pretty. It wasn't going well, but it had still been an improvement. So it's just, there's such a weird spot. It's so weird to say the offense is getting better, but then watch this game and be like, wow, that one of the uglier games you're going to see watching it off. I think it's also exceptionally worse watching this game coming off of the back of the Rams-Bills game that everybody in the world watched. That's a really tough back-to-back game watching.
I think a lot of credit to the Chargers defense, who is one of the best defenses in the National Football League. I believe by some metrics, they are the best defense in the National Football League. So credit to, you got to give some credit to them for making some things difficult. I think they're still trying to figure out, to your point, what they have, what they are. But I do think it is slowly coming together. And like you're seeing like, hey, look, you feel good about what you're seeing out of DeAndre Hopkins. You feel good about what you're seeing out of Xavier Worthy. And those guys are getting, some opportunities. Travis Kelce did some good things when you saw him. I just think they need the left tackle position to settle down. And if the left tackle position settles down, I think you're going to kind of figure out what the identity of this is. So you're really hoping that it's nothing serious for DJ Humphries in this game, because I do think he gives you a chance to give some normalcy to that offensive line that can really go a long way in unleashing this thing and opening this thing up. And I really do. I think there's some optimism and belief that within that building that this team is going to find some things, figure things out, and find a winning brand of football. I mean, they already have found a winning brand of football. It's just not pretty. And it makes you question whether or not they're going to be able to do it when these games matter the most, in January and February.
Waiting for the press conference to start here for Andy Reid. As I'm looking here and trying to figure out the injuries, because obviously the DJ Humphrey one is going to be a big one. But I think overall, when you just look at this, I mean, the Chiefs have won 12 football games again, all of them very close. But I think that, man, you'll take 12 wins. Speaking of tackles, can we talk about Chris Collinsworth trying to do the thing again to Juwan Taylor? Can we talk about that?
He tried it twice. He tried it in the first half,
to do it twice.
And I guess there wasn't good enough feedback coming back in from halftime. They didn't call a penalty, or he didn't get enough tweets telling him that he did a great job. So he tried to come back to it in the second half and was more blatant about it. And my favorite was the first half one. The camera was right on him, and he clearly didn't false start. They zoomed in to show it closer, and he clearly didn't false start. And I was like, well, he fixed one of his issues, but he still got this other one.
He just moves at the same time the ball is being snapped, and that's what people don't understand. And that just breaks people's brains.
Well, and he does move his foot, but that's allowed as long as your hips don't. The rule is literally your hips can't move. You can pick up your foot and readjust it all you want. So if he's picking up his foot and moving it back, as long as his hips don't move, that's not a false start. Watch Lane Johnson. Watch the next time the Eagles are on Sunday Night Football and watch Lane Johnson and watch how many times Chris Collinsworth mentions it. It won't happen. And there's other tackles too. The Rams right tackle has been doing it for years. I remember when the Chiefs and the Rams played that game, the high scoring game, 5 years ago now, their right tackle was doing it every play then. And it's not even like this is an all pro, everyone knows him. Havenstein, I believe is his name, Havenstein. This is a guy that's been doing it for years and nobody has said a word. And just Chris Collinsworth really doesn't like Juwan Taylor.
No, he really doesn't like the Chiefs, I don't think. I think deep down he just, he wasn't all there today. I thought there was a couple.
You know what's crazy too, though, Kent, is that if you get on Twitter, they talk about how much Chris Collinsworth loves the Chiefs. Twitter will say that, oh, Chris Collinsworth loves the Chiefs. Every time there's a game, he talks about Patrick Mahomes all the time. So that is so wild because as Chiefs fans, being in the space, we feel like Chris Collinsworth doesn't like the Chiefs. And I think that's the majority of Chiefs fans feel that way. But then all 31 other fan bases think that Chris Collinsworth just loves Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs. But I don't feel like it's that way at all.
I don't care other 31 teams. I don't care about anything right now. I'm very much enjoying watching this team continue to take care of business, continue to win football games in fashions and in ways that don't make sense. I love that it doesn't make sense at times too. It is it's tough to this team just won the more regular season games than their 2023 Super Bowl team last year. Do you guys know that? They just exceeded last year's win total.
Crazy.
And it does, and it both these seasons have been just bizarre for different reasons. And the Chiefs finally figured out a brand of football that was let's just rely on our elite defense and then not make mistakes. Then Patrick Mahomes will be Patrick Mahomes next. And this team is we know we have the offensive firepower to be a lot better than we were last year. We just got to put it all together. You're starting to see some of these highlights. I mean, look, Mahomes, I thought had a very good game. I thought he had a very good game today. He was getting beat up. There's some stuff that, a couple things to nitpick here or there, which I'm sure he's going to be harder on himself than anybody. But for the most part, I thought Mahomes had a fantastic football game. He put a drive together at the end of the second half. He did some good things offensively. There's really not a ton of things that you can be too disappointed with what Mahomes did in this game, Maddie.
I mean, yeah. Another thing I'm disappointed in, going from Prime Vision last week where you can actually see what's happening to the NBC view. That's a tough back-to-back again. So it's hard to ever say oh, I think this is a great player. This is what I think that was missed. I think a lot of the bad Chiefs stuff was a lot of guys not being open. It was a lot of bad pass protection. And I'm not saying that Patrick Mahomes did not have a bad play in there as well, but I never really got the sense throughout the game that Mahomes didn't have a good read or feel for what was going on. And the problem is a lot of that feel was, boy, we can't protect we can't protect him. We can't keep guys from hitting me all the time. So that makes it a little tricky, but yeah, I think he played pretty well. Him and DeAndre Hopkins were off this week. They had a couple different times where it looked like Mahomes was throwing a route somewhere to where DeAndre Hopkins wasn't. And you change some of those and maybe it starts to look a little bit better. Once again, though, the Chiefs really just struggle. Look at the Chargers on the just flip side. Look at the Chargers. Look how many open guys they had all over the field. And whether Herbert was hitting them or missing them, look how many open guys they had 15, 20 plus yards downfield. It's not just the deep ball, it's the corner routes and some of the crossers. Look how many they got. The Chiefs just struggle to get those. And when you're not hitting those, on top of the protection can be failing and under 2.5 seconds, every single play, it's really hard to string together multiple drives. It's hard to string together explosive plays and look really good. So I don't know if on one hand it looked good, but I also don't think that Mahomes or anybody played bad. I just think the offense as a whole was functioning very poorly in this game.
Yeah, I think there was, there's some things, especially, some things really off sync during this game, right? And, sometimes it was pass pro, sometimes it was just guys struggling to separate against man coverage. Some interesting play calling at times.
Consistently running 3 receivers or 4 receivers into the boundary against a team that's, just sitting on it.
Yeah. The sprint out on 3rd and half a yard.
I like that play, though.
You liked that play?
No, they like that play. They run that. They run versions of that all the time.
I know.
They run the 2 little picks. They sprint out into it, and they run that all the time.
I just don't know if the Chiefs had a negative run play all game. I just don't know if the Chiefs had a negative run play all game is all. And so I liked what they were doing on the ground. Isaiah Pacheco, 14 carries, 55 yards. Does a nice job there. Chiefs averaged nearly 4 yards rushing. 17 of that comes from Patrick Mahomes. Rising the average a little bit up there.
It's not like the run game was dominant. I want to be very clear. The running backs averaged 3.5, maybe a little over 3.5 yards per carry. It's not like the run game was dominant. Now, some of that was later in the game, those last couple runs where the Chargers were selling out to stop it. But I think to Tuck's point earlier, they could have been running a little bit more frequently throughout the game, kept the balance better, because we did see that is once in the second half, that's when they started to move the ball. It's just mixing it back in. And it felt like they kind of got stuck into trying to move the ball through the air. But again, it's hard to look back because the past few weeks, that's where they had more success. So it's just, they're still looking for the balance. I don't think they found it. I think they're getting better. I think they know they can be better than what they have been. But there's only so many weeks you can say that before you got to start seeing some results. Yep. We're still waiting for the results and they're just not coming yet. And that's where I think it gets really frustrating.
Yeah, and I do credit some credit to the Chargers defense. I thought they had, they played a pretty good game. They made some things tough on the chart, on the Chiefs, and they're a very, very, very good defense. They exploited, some of the pass rush struggles, especially pass protection struggles early in the game specifically. And it's not like they went away. It's just I think the Chiefs mitigated them a little bit better. We're gonna take a break. We'll be back right after this.
Shop Chiefs tickets and more with no fees. Plus, save big with code KCSN at ticketsforless.com, the official ticket provider of KC Sports Network.
At GEHA, we stand behind our members because we were founded by members. So we build health plans with extra benefits like vision and dental coverage, plus hearing and fitness discounts. Visit GEHA.com. Enroll by December 9th at midnight Eastern Time.
Chiefs win 19-17 on a doink field goal. What an absolutely incredible AFC West game yet again. The Chiefs are 5-0 in the AFC West. They own the AFC West yet again. 9 straight for the Kansas City Chiefs, and we are absolutely celebrating that fact. We should probably just talk a little bit about the defense. I would imagine we really haven't got to them at all.
Should we?
Yeah. I think, the shutout was really fun, and I was enjoying that very much in the first half. That shutout very easily could have been a 14-13 deficit. The Chiefs did some good things short to intermediate early in the game, but man, they gave up 2 wide open vertical opportunities for the Los Angeles Chargers, and they didn't take advantage of either. And that really could have busted this thing open, Maddie.
I mean, yeah, the first half defense looked like it was going pretty well. They seemed like they had the Chargers number. Yeah, there was the missed deep play to Josh Palmer, but it felt like they were hitting Justin Herbert. They were making him uncomfortable. The run game couldn't get anything going. It felt like they kind of were doing everything they needed to do. They were getting the Chargers to try to take all these deep shots. They weren't completing many of them because the pocket wasn't super clean. They were getting pressure. They were pushing guys around. Then the second half hit and everything kind of flipped on its head. The Chargers just said, hey, we're going to stop trying to run the ball, at least until later in the half. We're just going to launch all these YOLO shots down the field. We're going to challenge your DBs to cover them. And the Chiefs really struggled. So it's tough because in the first half, you want to feel really good about the shutout and look at all the positives. But like as the game continued to go, like the defense got really bad in the second half. And like they came up with the stop when they needed it. They came up with a couple different stops when they needed them. But that defense did not look good in the second half. It looked much like the same we had seen the past couple weeks where they're not getting consistent pass rush when they rush for. And the coverage unit on the back end is struggling to handle even injured and be like not great wide receiver group. So it's just, where do you hang your hat if you're that defense outside of the rush defense? Like, where do you hang your hat on as a unit?
I think there's some legitimate concerns there with what we saw late, and like the Chargers really didn't get anything going on the ground until the second half, and they went with some heavier personnel, and they kind of caught the Chiefs a couple times, and with extra heavy personnel. A little boundary toss. They just had too many big bodies there. They got hat for hat out there. So they got a couple runs going in that first that first drive. They got the run game going a little bit there, but like after that, it was a lot of throwing the football again, off of play action. I don't even know, like I don't know his name off the top of my head. Stone Smart, just mossing dudes on corner routes. Like
I didn't know he existed.
Gets Shamari, kind of mosses Shamari. Bolton, he got Bolton by like 2 or 3 steps. Like Stone Smart, he was second on the team in receiving yards for this game. 3 catches, 54 yards long of 24 on 3 targets. I don't know, man. I mean, it was like their backup back. He wasn't even supposed to be on the field. Will Dissly gets hurt, and they put Stone Smart on the
one
field.
of the craziest decisions I've ever seen for the Chargers to come out with 13 seconds, call a timeout, get Justin Herbert hit, and still try to run another play that gets their tight end hurt. And when you're nowhere even close to field goal or Hail Mary range, that was an insane coaching decision by the Chargers at the end of the first half.
Yeah, there's some weirdness to that one for sure for Jim Harbaugh. Tucker, what are your thoughts on the defense today?
As we still wait for the press conference to start here, one of my main thoughts is something that came out. I believe this was yesterday that came out, that old friend Steven Nelson, I think it was Saturday at 8:30 p.m. Word that Steven Nelson will be in town. I think he even said on his podcast he'll be in on Monday to take a visit with the team. The cornerback room, yeah, he does have Maddie. Okay. Who doesn't have a podcast?
That's a fair point.
But I will say, the depth of this cornerback room has been tested. You have Joshua Williams leave the game. I don't think he comes back in. I could be wrong on that. Correct me if I am wrong, but
he is not.
So it appeared that he was in the concussion protocol, seeing what everything that was going on. Obviously, we will have more when Andy Reid starts his press conference. Eventually, it should start now, as we are nearing 11 o'clock Arrowhead time. This press conference should be starting any time, and we'll know the injuries from that extent there. But the quarterback room, still a problem. I think that's pretty clear. When they needed to, it looked like they were going after 13 and 27 again. You had Joshua Palmer really step up for the Chargers in the absence of Ladd McConkey, which, look, all three of us, we were big Ladd McConkey guys at what he could do in the draft. Joshua Palmer was doing the same thing, and he's not the same player that Ladd McConkey is. So that is something that to be concerning. Also, to stay in the defensive secondary, like the safeties, man. You saw Brian Cook get burnt again. Luckily, Justin Herbert overthrew him, but then you saw Jaden Hicks do a couple of rookie mistakes. I mean, there's just some stuff in that secondary, that safety room, really too, that you're seeing six out there get burnt time and time again. It just doesn't make you haven't seen before. It seems like this is a new thing that's coming up this year, I should say.
Yeah, and I think like the Chargers tried to get some downfield plays going, to Josh Palmer. They tried a little post corner route, and I mean they had I think it was Jaden Hicks dead to rights on one of those plays. It was, or Cook might have been on the post corner, but both Hicks and Cook both gave up a great opportunity to hit a ball down the field, to try to put points on the board, something that was coming at a premium until the 2-minute drive for the Chiefs in the second half, or at the end of the first half. And that's a little bit of like, hey, yeah, coverage wasn't great, but also the pass rush wasn't great either. The pass rush was just not there either. And like I think
Right.
that's where it's getting very concerning because you don't have they're not generating pass rush. They're that's going to make it difficult for coverage to hold up. And it kind of felt like this team played very base coverage today. I didn't feel like they were able to get in their bag as much as like I thought they were going to. Maybe a step back and simplifying some things on the defensive side of the ball, perhaps. I mean, the Chargers only score 17, but granted, one of them was on a questionable pass interference, call that really opened that thing up in the second half. But I don't know, man. We talked about the offense trying to figure out what they are right now. I don't think the defense has a good feel for what they are at this point either.
I mean, I think the defense knows that they are struggling to do what they want to do. I don't think that there's much debate there because the problem is like when they put Joshua Williams out there, they struggle to call all of their zone coverages. It's something we've talked about, right? Like in zone coverage, Josh Williams gets a little antsy. He gets a little out of position. And then even some of the calls, like he just isn't always on the same page as everybody else. But you put Najee Johnson out there and it's kind of like, oh, here's a second cornerback that has a target on him all the time. So they're a little limited in what they could do. You see it in the red zone. They bring in Keith Taylor when they're in the red zone to play outside corner because he communicates better, because he knows like they trust him more in the red zone than they trust a Joshua Williams or a Najee Johnson. And so it's just, they're in a weird spot. Maybe Steven Nelson, to Tucker's point, like if he does sign with the Chiefs, he fixes that. He had been good for Houston the last couple seasons. Like maybe he helps. Maybe that gets Trent McDuffie back in the slot. And you also, that solves a little bit of your Chamari Connor issue too.
That's
so like
true.
coverage wise, I think they know what they are. And it's that they don't have a good answer. They have different types of players that are good at different things. They can't play man for everybody because outside of Trent McDuffie and Joshua Williams, they're not good at it, but they can't play zone because Joshua Williams and Najee Johnson aren't particularly good at that. Your match stuff gets Brian Cook matched up with vertical receivers like Palmer or Rashid Shaheed earlier in the year where he gets beat. So they kind of think that they're chasing their tail in coverage. And so normally you go, okay, how do we balance that? We get home, we get pressure, and outside Chris Jones, nobody really wins a lot. And even this year, Chris Jones, I know, is winning a lot, but his pressures don't seem as high value this year. They aren't disrupting quarterbacks from making good plays very frequently. So it's tough. It's tough out there.
I tweeted this out in the middle of the game, and I want to get both your guys' thoughts on this. If I watch another third down, like full house blitz, not get home again, I might go insane. Like the amount of times in the past, like 3 weeks specifically, they have sent 8 guys and it's not gotten home is unacceptable, truthfully. Like that, it is so infuriating that they are, you're sending that many guys, there's going to be areas of the field open, right? You got to get home though. And the fact that it hasn't gotten home has been one of the big frustrating things. Yeah, I understand that, that could be a secondary issue too. You got to cover guys if you are going to send a couple of guys out there, but man, like they just got to get home on these blitzes more.
I think to this point, I think teams have had better answers for some of this all-out pressure that the Chiefs have tried to dial up. I think, we've talked about this. Like, there's some. It's not necessarily hot, but they're ready to throw an out route. They're ready to throw an in route from the slot primarily, right? Like that's the Chargers have had more, or the teams have had more answers. I think when the Chiefs go to this all-out blitz, looks, and they've been better with those particular plays. And like it's a credit to some of the quarterbacks that have played. Like, I mean, you credit Bryce Young for it, for doing what he did. And I mean, credit Justin Herbert. Like I thought Justin Herbert had a pretty good game for the most part. He did some good things.
The new Ben Roethlisberger gets a hangnail, wiggles around on the ground forever, pretends he's dead, and then comes out and moves and plays just fine after it. Rinse, repeat every 2 weeks.
What was that? That was weird.
That was the Ben Roethlisberger.
That's fair.
I think.
When's the last time you watched the Chargers game where Justin Herbert didn't get medical attention on the field and then stay in the game?
Is he just trying to get Jim Harbaugh to stop hitting his shoulder pads, before the game? Like, just trying to get him to stop doing that? Is that what?
Not mentally tough is what you're telling. Not mentally tough.
Maybe
that's why he cut his hair.
To
the blitzes thing, I think the problem is offenses know the Chiefs have to blitz to get pressure. And so they see third and long, they go, hey, they're probably going to blitz. We're just going to muck it up. We're going to run max pass pro. We're going to run we're going to run a 3-man route. Maybe a fourth guy leaks out late and we just hit him in the flat because their coverage players are bad. But like teams plan on them blitzing. And I think that's they keep getting in trouble. I'd almost at this point, rather the Chiefs just drop 8 and just be like, okay, let's try to figure it out. We're just going to throw bodies out there because it's very predictable now. And when you don't have guys that are winning one-on-ones and it's predictable and your coverage unit on the back end is so wonky like it has been this year, it's just not working. Like you look in the second half of that game, the amount of first downs the Chargers picked up by just throwing the ball just past the sticks, while every secondary player was deeper than that, afraid to get beat over the top while the blitz didn't get home. Or even if it did get home, Herbert's just laying it up to the perfectly wide open guy because there's no fear or there's no surprise factor by the pressures coming right now because no team thinks Chris Jones is going to get home. No team thinks George Karlaftis is going to get home enough to impact how they play. So they just prepare for the blitz. And I think that's really starting to show up these past few weeks.
I think one of the kind of frustrating moments during this game was like 2nd and 18, they threw a hitch to the flat and Quentin Johnston ran for a first down, like a gain of 21 yards.
That's a Josh Williams thing. There was nobody that took him vertical, but he was 20 yards. He was behind. Yeah, he was behind the first down marker when that happened. Then he also, that's when he got concussed on. It's like, I shouldn't say too much bad about it. Like he slipped trying to come downhill to close on it. He was covering grass because Palmer went to the inside. Johnson just checked up, and like Joshua Williams didn't drive downhill whatsoever. That's the thing. Like his general zone feel is a little off. And I think that has been why he hasn't been the starting corner over Jalen Watson, or even once Watson got hurt, over Najee Johnson, because like they didn't trust him. Things like that happen a little too often with him.
Starting to get some quotes in from the press conference. It looks like
I forgot we get Clark Hunt today. Let's go, fellas. We get Clark Hunt.
Yeah.
You guys think he was mad or happy because they won? Oh, he won this one, but he wasn't mad about this one.
Oh yeah, that's right. Someone claimed that Clark Hunt was furious. Okay.
Yeah.
After the loss of Bills. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Sure.
Explain it all, please.
I don't want to. Andy Reid on DJ Humphrey's performance. Initially, it was fast for him. Then he settled down in the second half, which I figured would happen, and he did a nice job. Yeah, I think that's about right. I thought the first half was pretty fast for him. And I think there's going to be a feeling out period between, Humphreys, the rest of the offensive line, and also Humphreys and Mahomes. That's going to take some time, and he's going to learn some things. But also, I think the speed of the game, he definitely got caught a couple times with just, how fast this thing is. And that's why I was really glad that he was able to get into the mix as quickly as possible, because some of these challenges are only going to get more, difficult with Myles Garrett coming up against the Browns. But yeah, Andy Reid kind of echoing the sentiment that we kind of talked about a little bit more here. Also, Andy Reid, that play that Pat and Kelsey made up at the end there was something that's not quite the way it was drawn up on that third down. That kind of allowed the Chiefs to ice the rest of the clock out. Obviously an improvisation and a good job by Travis Kelsey to find space and Patrick Mahomes to throw to it, Maddie.
Yeah, I thought early in the play, had Mahomes just looked to the backside of the play, he probably had DeAndre Hopkins before the safety closed down on it. It's not the easiest throw, and I think part of probably what was going through his mind on that final play was wanting to make sure the clock kept running, right? They get all the way to the 2-minute warning. You need that clock to keep running, whether you get the first down or not. Like that's the most important part of the whole thing, essentially. So I think he was trying not to be risky by looking for Hopkins, but then as the play continues, as he extends it, Travis Kelsey does the Travis Kelsey thing where he locates an open spot. He works to himself that direction. He's able to make the first guy miss so he can deliver the pass. Like great play. Like that is vintage, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelsey. You've seen it a million times. It was just watching the play live. I was like, oh, please throw it to the backside. Don't lock in on Kelsey at this point. But when it works, it works. And it has worked a long time for those two guys.
You got something, Tuck?
I just want to read a tweet from Darren McFadden. It's a little off topic. He said $765 million. I guess I should have learned how to hit the ball, not the gap. And I think that's funny.
Yeah, that's Juan Soto getting $750 million from the New York Mets.
Hopkins open, and go find Kelsey. I think it's funny that Darren McFadden is saying that he should have learned to hit a ball and not the gap. It's like Darren McFadden was known. Never mind.
Not hitting the vision. Forget it.
Yeah.
Joshua Briscoe did tweet this out. Andy Reid made no mention of the injuries to DJ Humphreys and Joshua Williams in his post-game press conference. So we don't have any level of confirmation of the situation of those two guys. So that's comforting. I'm sure there will probably be some update. We'll probably get it from Rappaport here in like an hour or two. What might have happened with the injuries for the Chiefs, but per Andy Reid, and no comment yet on the injuries. Clark Hunt, our goal is to consistently compete for championships, and you've got to be thoughtful in your roster decisions. So
that's an interesting quote.
He says that DJ Humphries was an example of Brett Veach being thoughtful and frugal within the constraints of the salary cap.
I do love when your GM is described as frugal.
Well, you know what I call him? A
be
3-time Super Bowl champion, Matty.
That's true. Yeah, that is true.
So you can.
No, I mean, like, yeah, we all like the DJ Humphrey sign. There's no reason to go into it. I going back to your thing about how Andy Reid said they think the game started fast for him and got better as the game went. Yeah, I would agree with that. It is interesting that we didn't get any kind of injury update from Andy in that moment. And I don't know if maybe that means that there is no issue. Like, I mean, normally if he doesn't comment on a guy's injury coming out of a game, you're going to assume it's nothing major. But I don't know if he's rushed knowing that Clark's also getting like, I don't know what the situation was. It took him a while to get going. It's just normally he's pretty good at least saying, like, acknowledging it, even though he says like random words like he'll be okay. He's got a little something.
Maybe
like, you know
Andy,
what I mean?
And maybe Andy hasn't got an update because because there's a little bit more chaos celebrating a 9th straight AFC West championship. So maybe he hasn't got the updates he needed on those guys yet.
Models,
so, too busy celebrating that hat and t-shirt game, the 9th straight hat and t-shirt game for the Kansas City Chiefs in the AFC West. I will give it to the AFC West. They've put up a bigger fight this year. I mean, you got two teams in the playoffs. And also the Raiders.
The last 3 games they've played, they've been divisional games, right? So they played the Broncos. That was, the last 3 divisional games they've played. The Broncos was a blocked field goal. They played the Panthers in there. Then they played the Raiders, which ended up, they forgot that they were playing football, and they watched the snap. And then, they just forgot what was going on.
The Raiders game was the last game that this team played. Oh, my gosh, man.
Yeah. They had a long extended bye too. They had a little mini bye.
Golly.
We got Brett Coleman here in the chat. He knows what's up. He knows the Chiefs just keep winning. He sees it. He can't deny it. He loved that game. I know he loved watching that game. That was one of his favorite games to watch all year.
Can I tell you guys a secret? If Brett's still in the chat, I want to tell him this too. I have bookmarked his tweet from December 1st. It's staring me right in the face. It said the Bills are starting to do random Chiefs bullshit now. It's finally their time. I just have it bookmarked, waiting for when it's actually officially not their time.
Tucker,
and
you want to know something?
What?
So do I.
Hey, Brett, you want to come on 21 Questions next week?
Ooh, come hang. I love Brett to death, man. I can't
wait till we're in person when it comes to fruition.
Right,
the Bills are not
I can't
that guy.
wait for that. I love that so much. Yeah, there it is. I love you, man. I love you.
Brett.
We'll see you.
Fellas, I'm suffering a hamstring cramp right now. Let's hurry this up.
Fair enough.
Should we go to Toast Game now?
Yeah, if I can find the video to play for the right time. Let's see.
Toast Game, as always, is brought to you by Ben Holiday Bottled in Bond Bourbon. Really quick, Patrick Mahomes just said that Travis Kelce was supposed to run a corner route on the first down reception in the fourth quarter.
Checks out.
Of course he was, yeah.
I love it so much. Toast Game is, as always, brought to you by Ben Holiday. They do incredible bourbon, and we are proud partners of them. Tucker, why don't you give us our your Toast Game here, my friend?
Well, I happened to this morning. I checked my I used the Score app to find all the scores to games. I saw that University of Missouri was playing in a basketball game against number 1 Kansas. I haven't had the opportunity to recheck the score. Kansas was number 1 in the country, so there's probably no way that they lost to the number 1. That they beat the number 1 team in the country, So I just assume, the mighty Kansas probably won that game, probably comfortably. They probably didn't have any troubles at all. So I guess give one to Kansas for. Wait. Oh no. Oh, Mizzou won that game. Oh, I thought Kansas was number 1. That's weird. Okay. Anyway, cheers to the Missouri basketball team. They won't be anymore, especially after losing to Creighton too. They are struggling with schools around them. Cheers to the Missouri basketball team. Another cheer, Matthew Wright. I mean, hitting that field goal, doinking it in for the division. Great call from Mike Trico. You know what? Cheers to Mike Trico. Great call there. I thought he did a good job. Uncheers for Chris Collinsworth though. Chris Collinsworth does not get a part of that cheers. Only to Mike Trico. What else? What else can I raise a glass to? Good vibes. Because I'm sure we all had good vibes during that game. And cheers to myself for raising the energy of this year program.
Yeah. What about DJ Humphrey's hamstring and health? He's gonna leave that hanging?
And good health.
Okay.
I drank way too much. Holy cow.
Tuck, you had one job.
I just took so big of a sip.
He nailed his job. Oh,
Maddie, why don't you go?
Tershawn Wharton. The pass rush wasn't good in this particular game, but Tershawn Wharton did seem to be the guy that was capitalizing on a couple of times when Justin Herbert was scrambling. He did make some big plays in the run game, and was the guy that was getting some of these sacks. Yeah, I think he had 2 sacks in this game, a couple pressures. So I thought Wharton played a good game, and it was nice to see because he had a really hot start to the year, and it looked like him and Chris Jones were going to kind of be a duo. He slowed down a little bit, but it was nice to see him come back, win a couple one-on-ones, and impact a game positively. So shout out Tershawn Wharton.
I like it. Without looking, do you guys know who had the longest receiving play for the Kansas City Chiefs in this game, by the way? Without looking.
There's two options.
Yeah, there is 2.
It's either Xavier Worthy on the little pass over there, or was it Samaje Perine on his dump off and broken tackles.
I definitely think it's Juju though.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I forgot he had the broken play. Yeah, where Hopkins carried everybody deep.
Like how Maddie's there's 2 options, and it was neither.
No, that's right. I forgot that play.
So, not Baylor Cup though. He was not an option.
Oh no, they thought he was.
Poor Baylor Cup. I feel bad for him. I'm gonna go Xavier Worthy toast game. Shout out to Xavier Worthy coming up with a huge catch.
That was your setup to not go with Juju?
No, I just was. This was just a shoot off. Sorry, it wasn't continuing with thought. But I do want to shout out Xavier Worthy for making a huge catch late in that game to give the Chiefs a fresh set of downs and what was ultimately their game-winning drive. I think he's putting together. I think he's consistently starting to put together more games here. I think the last few weeks have looked a lot better. He's making some of the catches and some of the plays that I think maybe he hadn't been early in the season. So I think some big ones, some big conversions for him. The drag route by him, and then making that catch late in this game. I know he bobbled a little bit, but hey, he's coming down with him now more than he was earlier in the year. So credit to Xavier Worthy. That is going to do it for the KCSN postgame show. Thank you all so much for listening, watching, supporting. Hey, there's still time to get to donate to the Soul of KC raffle and help the kids at Operation Breakthrough. We're still raising money through, I believe, tomorrow. So you still have a chance. And we'll be going and trying to support some kids here in the KC Metro with whatever donations are made. And again, to thank you, there's some raffle options, some raffle prizes that you could potentially win. So we'd appreciate your support. The links are in the descriptions of the show, whether you're listening, watching. But anyways, we're grateful for you. Thank you all so much. We love you. We'll catch you later.
Chiefs are never losing again.